morning. How's everybody? Welcome. What a great day to be here in Yellowstone National Park. It's great to see all of you. Thank you for being here. We're very honored to have some very distinguished guests with us here today who we'll introduce here momentarily. But I quickly want to recognize the critical role that so many of you play in our success here, including our national leaders. You know, Yellowstone sets a global standard, really does represent some of the very best of America. That is something that we can all be very proud to be a part of. This park exemplifies a vision that was created nearly 150 years ago. That vision really recognized the value of setting aside and protecting some of the most important resources in this country, like Old Faithful here behind us. Ensuring that that vision continues to flourish in the future is not only our collective responsibility, but it's both a noble and extremely important part of what we do. And our success is predicated on our partnerships and our relationships, our ability to work together. Whether you're part of the tremendous, and I mean tremendous, Park Service team here in Yellowstone or in other parks across the country like Grand Tetons, who's also represented here, or whether you're one of our important partners in the park or out of the park, it's through your efforts that this park is what it is today. And I could not be more impressed with the value each and every one of you bring to helping us balance the protection of this incredible park while caring for millions of visitors that come to enjoy it every single year. We can't do it alone. Yellowstone doesn't run itself. Thank you all. We're very fortunate to have a Secretary of Interior who understands the importance of Yellowstone, not only to America, but to the world. I've personally appreciated his leadership in challenging us to become better, more effective, and efficient, not only in the National Park Service, but across the Department of Interior. He's helped us break from traditional norms, he's encouraged innovation, and he's really given us a lot of support in critical priorities like reducing deferred maintenance, caring for our employees, and a myriad of other important priorities. So it's my privilege to welcome and introduce to you the 53rd U.S. Secretary of the Interior, Mr. David Bernhardt.
Cam, thank you for that introduction. I am so appreciative of your exceptional leadership at this great park. I'd like to have everybody give him a hand round. Well, good morning, everyone. It is a great honor to be here with you at Yellowstone, serving the President and the country as Secretary of the Interior. Before I begin, I want to thank all of the National Park Service, Forest Service employees, concessionaires, and partners for being here and for all that you do. Because as Cam said, your efforts ensure that millions of people from all over the world can experience and enjoy this iconic park while protecting it for future generations. Your work is so appreciated. It's a tremendous privilege to be here with the Vice President and the Second Lady. Welcome to Yellowstone. Now, I want all our guests to know that just like many families that load into cars and campers to head out for the summer to parks, the Pence family has done that same thing over the years. And the reality is that when we invest our time to be inspired by natural wonders, walk areas where great moments of American history occurred, or travel through geological time, walking from the rim of the Grand Canyon down to the Colorado River, we're all greatly enriched. To this day, I can remember the very moment when I was 9, visiting Mesa Verde for the first time, and having the opportunity to climb through cliff dwellings. That moment made me interested in the Anasazi and history forever, and the mystery of history. Parks preserve our natural wonders and our cultural history. They tell a story of who we are as a country. More than 300 million people visit our parks every year, contributing more than $40 billion a year to our national economy. And that's the great news. America loves its natural parks. Yet with the popularity of these iconic places, the infrastructure needed to make sure visitors safely enjoy the experience is being stretched. Across the Park Service, more than $12 billion in repairs are needed for roads, bridges, water systems, trails, and more. Right behind us on the boardwalk of Old Faithful, it is in need of repair so that thousands of visitors every day can enjoy the famous patchwork. Decades of inaction has gotten us to this point, but the Trump administration has a solution. We've asked Congress to give us the tools to address the deferred maintenance backlog and fix our parks by funding a dedicated fund. Every single senator I've spoken to, Republican or Democrat, recognizes the need to address the problem in the backlog. And I just left the Western Governors Association on Monday, and on Tuesday they released a bipartisan position supporting a legislative plan to rebuild our parks. Now is the time to have Congress act, and we can finally get this done for the American people. The first time I visited with Vice President Pence about the maintenance backlog, he told me he wanted help. So, as with what we do with all who volunteer to help in the Park Service, we're going to take him on up with that task today. So please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
Well, thank you, Secretary Bernhardt. How about a round of applause for Secretary David Bernhardt, who has stepped in as Secretary of the Interior, doing an incredible job for America and looking after our vast natural resources. Thank you for your remarkable work preserving, protecting, and improving our national parks and our public lands. It is a joy for Karen and I to be back to Yellowstone National Park. It is a crown jewel of the American park system. Thank you all, and to all of the rangers, to the Forest Service personnel, National Park Service team, and all of the partners that accommodate some 4 million people that come through Yellowstone National Park every year. Thank you. Thank you for your service. We're here just to express our admiration, appreciation, and determination to make sure that this park and all of our national parks are preserved for this generation and every American generation. And Karen and I are delighted to be back. We first came to Yellowstone National Park when all of our kids were a little bit shorter than this podium. And I'll never forget when Karen said to me, I said, "What are we doing on our August vacation?" She said, "We're going to Yellowstone National Park." I said, "What else are we doing?" She said, "We're going to drive from Indiana out to Yellowstone," and we spent an entire week in this park. And we stayed at one lodge after another, and it was an extraordinary experience. And to every American that might be looking on from afar, we simply say, America has the best national parks in the world. It is time for your family to come to Yellowstone. And I want to thank the great team here, not only all the personnel standing before us today as we wait for one more time for Old Faithful to do its job, but also I want to thank the leadership here too, your superintendent, Cam Shawley, who not only has served great distinction in the National Park Service, but also in the United States Army, and even last night showed his compassion for one of the people who were here, literally saved the lives of one of the tourists, a young man who was here. Join me in thanking your great superintendent for the great job that he does every day. Awesome. And we want to acknowledge the great support that we have from your delegation in the Congress. I was on Capitol Hill just a day or so ago, and I could tell your senators and your congresswoman were just a little bit jealous that I was going to be in Yellowstone today, and they couldn't be here because of duties. But join me in thanking Senator Mike Enzi, Senator John Barrasso, and Congresswoman Liz Cheney. They are great champions for this national park. As I gather before you today, allow me to bring greetings from a great champion of our national parks and who, like another New Yorker who became President of the United States, believes in investing in and supporting and conserving our great national treasures. I bring greetings from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. You know, the President said in our very first year in office that our national treasures, our national parks, in his words, symbolize our ongoing commitment, preservation of our land and wildlife, and they set the conservation standard for the world. So each one of you put feet on that every single day. And it's nowhere more true than right here in Yellowstone National Park. It's amazing to think in this incredible stretch of land full of rivers and canyons, geysers and hot springs. I just heard a very energetic presentation from a park ranger about the geysers that I learned today, where is she? Where's Rebecca at? Give Rebecca a round of applause. She is really something. I didn't know half of the geysers in the world were here in Yellowstone National Park until I met Rebecca. And in fact, there's one showing up behind us here. Well, you gotta love Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park, don't you? Wow, just amazing. Amazing to think of this. Yellowstone National Park actually was our very first national park, established by President Ulysses Grant, as you all know, in 1872. He commemorated it with the words that set this land apart for the benefit and the enjoyment of the people. Now those words, I know, are enshrined on the Roosevelt Arch, entering into the parkway today. Every one of you today working here, not just at Old Faithful, but all across Yellowstone National Park, ensure that these lands are set apart, that they do remain for the enjoyment and the benefit of our people, and we're truly grateful to each and every one of you. In nearly 150 years since this park was established, men and women of the National Park Service and your forebears have helped develop this rugged wilderness into an iconic place that is literally enjoyed by more than 4 million people every single year. We've built hundreds of miles of roads, hundreds of backcountry campsites, bridges, tunnels, other infrastructure that help open up Yellowstone to the wider world. And it's amazing to think of the impact this has had on the region and the enjoyment of the people of the United States of America. But we came here to say thanks, and rather than just collectively saying thanks to all of you that are wearing these National Park Service uniforms, I want to single out a couple of you, like a boardwalk supervisor, who I'm told got his start here in Yellowstone 38 years ago as a seasonal employee. He was actually responsible for cleaning toilets at Grant Village, truth be told. Since that beginning, he's had a hand, I'm told, in most of the infrastructure projects here in the park, helping pave roads, clear trails, build bumper logs, maintain miles of the boardwalk. And I was told on the way here that he's retiring next year. I know that his hard work and his friendly spirit will be missed on the team, but I know he'll be back here again and often. Join me in thanking Paul Anderson for his lifetime of service to Yellowstone National Park. Great job, Paul. Great job. And nothing works here without making sure the budget works. There's a budget analyst here at Yellowstone that deserves recognition. She spends most of her time working behind the scenes, doing kind of the less than glamorous work, but it's essential to maintaining the park's finances and balanced budget. She's developed a reputation for always going above and beyond call of duty to make things work here at Yellowstone. Longtime member of the community. In fact, not only did her husband recently retire from the Gardner School after years of teaching, but all three of their kids graduated from Gardner, including her youngest, who graduated just last week. Join me in thanking Joy Harrius. Where are you, Joy? Thanks for all your great work. job, Joy. Congratulate that young one for us, will you? Is he here? Hey, congratulations. Well done, son. Not standing with mom. You didn't want to. I get that, Joy. We got kids. We got 3. So we're good. But really, all of them are emblematic of all of you. I know that this is a job. I'm proud to have you on the payroll, but I know it's a calling. I know you're here in Yellowstone. You're here making sure this park is available. You're making sure people that enjoy this park are safe every day. So for whatever role you play here at Yellowstone National Park, give yourselves a round of applause. We're all proud of all of it. And you know, it's a real joy to be here with my wife Karen, and she had a special treat earlier today, and she wanted to say a word about a really special person here at Yellowstone. So would you join me in welcoming the Second Lady of the United States of America, Karen Pence. Back to Yellowstone.
One of the great programs here is also the Artist in Residence. So Larry Hughes, if you can raise your hand so that everybody knows who you are, right back here. And I just got a treat. I got to look at Larry's studio, and I got to see some of his amazing watercolors. So Artists in Residence come for 2-week periods, and so he happens to be the one who's here right now, and I'm really grateful because he's a very, very talented watercolor artist. So you might want to head over there before he heads out to see some of his work. So thank you, Larry. And I know your wife is here as well, right? Right here, right up front. Yeah. She got a better seat than you did. Yeah. Anyway, I know you're very proud of him because he is an amazing artist. So he does plein air sessions. He does work with kids here at the park. So be sure to go see some of his artwork. It's amazing. Thank you, Larry.
Well, it's high praise coming from Mrs. Pence, Larry, because she's an accomplished watercolor artist, and being able to capture the extraordinary beauty of Yellowstone and carry it out to the wider world is really good for us, so we really commend you. So beyond saying thank you, I wanted to make sure that all of you who make Yellowstone National Park work every day know that in this administration, in this White House, you have a president who is committed to conservation, and President Donald Trump is committed to improving and bettering the national parks of the United States of America. I promise you. I'm pleased to report in the President's 2020 budget, we've requested more than $12 billion for the Department of Interior, including nearly $3 billion for the National Park Service. We've requested funding for wildlife and forest management programs to minimize the risk of wildfires and insect infestations, invasive species, and the dangers posed to our country's national treasures that are here. But let me also take a minute. I met with some firefighters when I landed at the airport, people that work in fire here and managing what is a natural occurrence that happens, but it represents a challenge not only in this park but across our country. Join us in thanking all the great firefighters who do the great work here at Yellowstone. Job well done. But I'm also pleased to report, with the President's leadership and the strong support of Secretary of the Interior, as you just heard, we've actually proposed what will be known as the Public Lands Infrastructure Fund. Under President Trump's leadership, we will dedicate 50% of all of the revenues from leases on public lands to improve and maintain the infrastructure of our national parks. It's an idea whose time has come, and we're working with leaders in both parties and leaders all across the country, as Secretary Bernhardt said, to make sure that this new reform is signed into law, and I know President Trump is looking forward to initiating this program to make sure that you all here at Yellowstone National Park and throughout the National Park Service and all of our national parks have the resources to maintain this extraordinary infrastructure. Just know that under the President's leadership, we will always support the vital mission of the National Park Service. It is a mission to inspire, and it's a mission that really adheres to the American character. You know, I mentioned before that there was another president that came out of New York and was committed to conservation in our national parks. I've actually got a portrait of President Teddy Roosevelt in my office and in the West Wing of the White House. I've done a fair amount of reading about that president, and I know he was known as a conservation president, and I can assure you, you've got another conservation president in the White House again. Thinking about Teddy Roosevelt, I was struck by the fact that he didn't just come here to Yellowstone in 1903 after he became president, but rather he had come here in 1890 with his family. And I did a little reading up on it here, and I found out that his wife Edith was actually thrown from a horse during that trip. So we won't be riding today, just in case there's a little bit of a tradition with that. But I know in 1903, President Roosevelt laid the cornerstone for the Roosevelt Arch at the north entrance, and he spoke some extraordinary words that day. He said, "Here is your country. Cherish these national wonders. Cherish the natural resources. Cherish the history and romance. It's sacred heritage for your children and your children's children." It's what each one of you do each and every day. Karen and I just couldn't resist having some business up in Montana to come down and just make sure you know. Not just the support that we're going to continue to provide to our National Park Service here to Yellowstone, but just the gratitude to you American people do. And these are extraordinary treasures in the life of our nation, and you are the stewards of those treasures. And let me say, it is my heartfelt belief that they are blessings as well. We came here as a family, when we visited Yosemite, when we visited the Grand Canyon, my kids would tell you that I'd always correct them when they'd say, "That's a very beautiful scene, that's a very pretty scene." I would say to them, "No, that's a glorious scene." Because it's our deep conviction that when you look at this scenery, you look at its inspiration, it's not just beautiful, it's glorious because it was created by one to whom glory is due. And we'll give him the glory as we enjoy, as millions of Americans do, the treasures that you carry here and protect here. But also comes with that is stewardship. Each one of you are in the stewardship business. And I can't help but think of what the good book says about stewardship. It actually talks of a time, at the very beginning, and I quote, when the Lord God took a man and put him in a garden. It says he put him there to work it and take care of it. And so on behalf of the American people, on behalf of a grateful nation, let me say to all of you here at Yellowstone National Park, all of you in the National Park Service and Forest Service, thank you for answering that call. To be stewards of our vast natural blessings in our national parks. Thank you for working it. Thank you for taking care of it. And I want to thank you on behalf of this generation and every generation for what you're doing today to preserve Yellowstone and this incredible American treasure. Thank you very much. God bless you. And God bless the United States.